Where are you located? I always get it wrong.
Chicago area.
Oh, really?
So I'm what?
Every time I talk to my brother, my brother's an entrepreneur, my other brother-in-law, I'm like, yeah, I'm like doing this awesome collab with this guy from Iowa.
Oh,
That's not you.
no, not me, dude. No, I live right by O'Hare. I mean, 10, 15 minutes
O'Hare, is
away.
that okay.
So,
I'm not too familiar with that
I mean,
area.
I'm 20 miles outside of the heart of Chicago. Okay. So
Okay.
like I could get to the Sears Tower, Willis Tower in 20 minutes on a good
Oh
day.
wow. All
I
right.
mean,
All
30
right.
minutes. But I'm in the suburbs, dude. Nothing freaking happens out here. It's
Gotcha.
boring as shit. So how's that one?
That's how you start it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Broken Moto Show, hosted by me, Cody Richards from Motorcycle MD, and my buddy Matt from How to Motorcycle Repair. This is just simply a collaborative channel that we wanted to start through our own feeds where we can hang out, drink a couple beers, talk about motorcycles with questions that you guys provide. Matt, how can they get a hold of us?
askbrokenmoto@gmail.com.
We're getting so much better at it.
We got it right. We finally aren't forgetting our own email.
We got it. What are the rules? What are the rules for this?
Mileage, year, make, and model. Clearly state the problem. As much information as you can would be great. A picture or video is a plus.
Yeah, perfect.
So, and that's obviously tech questions. So if you have any tech questions or actually any questions,
Yeah.
if we can answer it, great. If not, we'll move on. But
Yeah, we got one on painting last time, or
yeah,
I like that. I like the variety. Actually, we got a really cool one this time from, I forgot his name, but I'll mention it with that video, and he just crushed it. So
Yeah.
props to this guy.
Yeah,
You know
sure.
who you are.
Yeah.
So let's start it off with the first question for this episode. So this one comes to us from, I think it's Mal from the UK, another guy outside across the pond. I'm experiencing an electrical fault on my Honda 2001 NT650. He said DeVille is what it looks like. I've never heard it called that. I know what the bike is, but let's carry on. When I turn on the ignition, the voltage of the battery without any accessories being turned on, in quotations or in parentheses, starts to go down quite rapidly over a couple of minutes. It is down to 10 volts, starting with a full battery at 13.1 volts. I can turn off and the voltage of the battery climbs back up with no charging. I mean, like key off, key on type thing. It can take up to 30 minutes to recover. A really healthy, this is actually kind of a difficult one because with a really healthy battery, they will recover like that. So this is actually a good one. Do you know what can cause this problem? Do you know what could cause this problem? Would appreciate any enlightenment. Mal from UK. What do you think, man?
I think it's a questionable battery, or I would question the battery first thing. How about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, there are ways to test what's called a parasitic drain, which is like, think of it as like a parasite on your electrical system, something that is constantly just taking. That can be a clock. On some of the, I don't, maybe on the NT there's a clock, but in the manual they'll give you a very specific draw that is allowed. It's usually in milliamps.
Yeah, it should be very low.
Tiny.
But if it was large, then he wouldn't be seeing it jump back up to 13.1.
Yeah, I mean,
if it was a really big draw, constant.
To me, it almost sounds like what really, maybe this is just going a little bit wide, but what really is the issue? Because if you're turning on the key, you have a headlight that's probably 55 watts. You have a tail light. You have running lights in the front. You have dash. You have everything. You turn the key on. If I sit there and watch my battery, it's going to drain out.
Sure, and he's saying couple minutes. You're basically load testing the battery for no reason.
Correct. If there was a starting issue after this took place, or if within like maybe as soon as he turned, like he's reading 13 volts in the battery, he turns the key on immediately, and then boom, it drops to like 9 or 10 volts. There's an issue.
Right.
You know, but letting it just turn the key on and it's just draining.
That might be normal.
It might be normal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, if you want to really know, take the battery out, take it to the shop and have them load test it.
Mm-hmm.
A load test will determine if it's good or not.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
And, you know, just because it's a new battery or even a year old or whatever, don't assume it's going to be good for another few years. Batteries do go bad. I mean, my sister took her car in to Just Tires, or, you know, a tire shop, to have her battery changed out. The next couple days, it was dead. And we're like, what's going on? Maybe she left the interior light on or whatever. So I charged it for her. 2 days later, it's dead. I took it back. I'm like, hey, the battery's going dead. They put a load tester on it, like 150 cold cranking amps, and the thing should be like 600. So he's like, we just put a new battery and it was bad. It had a bad cell or whatever, and it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. One rule of thumb when you're buying battery, I'm not sure where you got the battery from. If you go into the auto parts store, buy the one that's, see, on car batteries, I buy the one that's furthest in the back. Because that's one that they loaded in.
It's the freshest.
It's the freshest one. Usually they have date codes. What I found is when you go to the auto parts store for a motorcycle battery, who knows how long it's been on the shelf? Who knows?
So you know what I like to do is I like to buy them dry. I like to fill them myself, and then it's fresh from the the day I get it. And
you know the date, right?
Yeah. So I if I don't feel like going anywhere, I buy them on Amazon. I buy the Yuasa brand.
Good battery, solid battery.
Yeah, those are good. Did I pronounce that right? I don't even know.
I think so.
Yeah, well, whatever. So I buy those. They're, $60-$70 or whatever, but they come dry. You got the pack that you just pop on and let it. It's so easy to fill them.
Yeah, and soak it for 30. Charge it for you can even do a slow charge or a fast charge. What kind of charger are you, Matt?
I'm a slow charger because
cool.
Overnight or whatever, and that way I know I got a solid battery to start with.
Right. And all the details are right there on the battery. I am a full supporter of Yuasa battery. That's the battery that Honda puts in their bikes out of the showroom. So when we prep a new bike, they all have Yuasa batteries, and they're just phenomenal. But to go back to the loads to get it checked, what we've also found is that Honda dealerships, we are provided with tools, whether we want to pay for them or not, and they send them, right? So they send us a brand new battery charger. I'm sure every dealership has them. I don't care if it's Honda, Suzuki, Cowie, Harley, whatever. They'll have one specific to their brand or to their batteries. So we've found that people take their battery to a auto parts dealer for motorcycles. This is specific to motorcycles. They get them tested. They say, gets the green light. They bring it to us, we test it, and then it tests bad. Whether that's a system thing, whether that's Honda's own parameters on what their batteries should be reading at, whether that's Honda's device trying to sell more batteries, who knows,
Yeah.
But a new battery can mean a lot of different things, I guess is the key word for that. But Mal, I think what we're saying is what you're experiencing may not be as far-fetched as an issue as what you may think. You have a lot of things going on once that key fires up. You have a fuel pump priming. I mean, the whole list goes on.
Sure.
A lot of things that can just take that battery down. The fact that it brings it back up to that high of a voltage, because 13 volts is a brand new battery. Anything below 12 can ultimately mean dead. But what you're experiencing seems pretty normal. I don't see the problem.
Cool. Do nothing.
Sweet. Do nothing. All right, dude. Take the next question.
Well, before the next question, let's talk about our beer fund. So Cody and I just started a beer fund where you viewers can contribute $3 or more as a little thank you donation. Keep our our fridges full.
Yeah. It's a great way to support, man.
Yeah. It's just a little thing. So if you could do so, that'd be great. If not, that's cool also, you know.
We spend the time, you know, chalking this kind of stuff up for at least about an hour and a half, and then of course more time, you know, editing and doing all that stuff to hopefully just in Freeland provide you guys some kind of helpful information about your bike, because we care. So
yeah. All right. Thanks for that.
You should find that in the description below.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
we'll put a link in the description below.
Thank you to all future supporters.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Next question is from Erik from Palatine. And Erik lives probably 5 to 10 miles from me. So that's pretty cool.
Ooh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Erik, I was at Fremd High School the other day picking up some supplies for my daughter, and that's in Palatine. So I was right near you.
You guys are practically family.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So Erik sent in an awesome video, gave us a lot of information. He spoke to the camera. He had it on his face, which was awesome. And he went into detail about his issues. So we're going to roll that video right now.
Hey guys, this is Erik Danielchuk from Palatine, Illinois. First and foremost, Matt, I want to thank you so much for the awesome videos that I've purchased through the years, from the KX125 250 engine rebuild up to the YZ250F, which is for my son's bike that we're currently building. So we're in the final stages of that. Anyway, this is a question that I have for a new project that I just bought. It doesn't have to deal with the engine, but it actually has to deal with the axle size on a KX250 in 1998 and the rear axle size, bearing size, on a 2007 KX450F. And the reason why I ask that, or the reason for this video, is I got a set of OEM rims, wheels I should say, everything for $40, front and rear. So I know that the stock axle is a 20 millimeter, and the stock axle on a 2007 450F is a 25 mil. What I did is I actually bought a couple pieces of 25 millimeter OD, 20 millimeter ID tubing off of Amazon, and I'm just wondering if there's any harm in using this in here as a full sleeve going through. I know I polished up the end a little bit just because I have to sand it down a little bit, maybe with some crocus cloth or some plumber's cloth, sand cloth, just to get it to fit in there. But actually a couple little turns and it goes in there no problem. The reason I'm thinking that this is going to work is because the stock axle is right here. And I'll take that off. And as you can see, whoops, sorry, I dented that side there. But anyway, as you can see, it's a super tight fit in there. So without having to do any sort of milling on the inside, I think it's going to work out perfect. I just have to, you know, maybe take off a little bit on the exterior of this, and then use it as a through-way bushing or sleeve. And also the cool thing is that, I didn't know this, but on the 20 millimeter, the axle dust caps fit perfect on there. So guys, I'm looking for your expertise. Is there any harm on using this piece of aluminum over the stock axle to bring it up to a 25 millimeter? Am I going to have issues down the line if I use it as a through axle sleeve? Thanks guys. Really excited for you guys with this. This is awesome. And I look forward to contributing as well and trying to help you guys out. Again, this is Erik from Palatine, Illinois. We'll talk soon. Thanks, fellas.
Okay, so Erik is trying to convert later model wheels onto a 99 to 02 KX250. And I get why he's probably doing that, because it's an older bike and maybe his wheels are damaged, or the aftermarket support for that generation isn't that good. And if the wheels are available, they're very expensive. So I think he bought cheaper wheels off a newer bike and he wants to make them fit.
Yeah.
So I think what he shows in the video will work. However, there is I believe, a better option, but it might be a little more expensive. So what I have here, right here, is a spacer that would, well, this would replace your current spacer, and you can see your old axle would be 20 millimeters. Okay. And then here would be the 25 millimeters that gets inserted into the bearings, the wheel bearings, and then whatever diameter you need here for the seal. Okay. And I think that would be a better option than a whole sleeve going through the hub. And you were going to say something?
I was going to ask you about your drawing. So you're saying that he could get a spacer that went inside of the wheel bearing?
Yeah, because
okay.
The bike he has a 20 millimeter axle.
Yeah.
And 20 millimeter bearings.
Right.
The new wheels are 25 millimeters. So you got 5 millimeters of
absolutely.
diameter.
Slop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was proposing to slide a shaft from bearing to bearing inside the wheel that would be 20 and 25 respectively. And the problem is that shaft is a couple thou too big, and he's got to grind it down or whatever. So you have 6 to 8 inches of material that you have to remove and then get a nice tight fit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be super tight, but you want it as minimal clearance as possible. Otherwise your wheel is going to move around. Right. So I think this is a better option because it also supports the axle further out.
Okay.
Versus you're only supported here in the hub versus now you're all the way out here. So I think that would be a better situation. The problem is though, I don't know, you're going to have to get this custom made.
Correct.
So unless you have access to a lathe, expect to pay a machinist $80 an hour in this area here to knock these out. I think he could probably do 2 of these in an hour. But that would be a more solid option, I think.
What kind of material do you think you should use?
Steel or stainless. I mean, if you go steel, then you got to plate it because it's a dirt bike. It'll rust. You can use stainless. Aluminum would probably work, but yeah, I think aluminum work. Your swing arms, aluminum, axle blocks are aluminum. Maybe you can get away with that as well.
Yeah, the first thing that was popping into my head when he showed the long pipe that he bought, and that was aluminum, was like I would be worried in my brain that when you're cinching down the axle, you're ultimately putting axle nut. You have spacers that are kind of locking it all in, and over tightening and under tightening, it doesn't really play too big of a role as to how the wheel spins. Okay.
All right.
Because you can rail down on that axle, but because of the spacers and the bearings and where they ride and where they touch, the wheel's still going to spin unless you have improper spacing. Right. So if you put this pipe in there, this aluminum pipe, which it looked like I was totally jazzed about the clearances that he got out of that pipe. I mean, it looked like a regular axle type clearance, but I'd be really concerned about getting enough space on the side, so how long it is to where you're not running into that spacer when you're tightening it down, then you're not tightening the axle enough. Or if you're not under tightening it, then will that spacer then be allowed to move? And then you have an aluminum spacer trying to wrap itself around your axle that's running through it. Would that overheat? Would that cause weird situations to go on? Like it had to be, I mean, just perfect to where the torque that you bring into it would be resting against the axle and the spacer as well as the correct torque.
Right. I know what you're saying. So, I mean,
that's what I was thinking.
And by the way, like with bearings, wheel bearings, you never want axial load this way. It's always radial, right? So the wheels, both as old and new, they will have some kind of tube or spacer inside there to rest against the inner races.
Yeah.
And then you have your outer bushings and then your swing arm. And when that's all sandwiched, there is no axial load on the wheel or the bearings, because otherwise you'll trash those bearings super fast.
Like every other dirt bike out there.
Yeah.
So Erik, if you know, this is also hard to visualize. Like what I like to do in this situation is draw up a sketch, the cross section of the wheel, and just verify that everything's cool. So if you want to further elaborate on this design, shoot me an email. We'll sketch some things out. I'll help you out. But other than that, it's kind of hard to just wave my arms around and and explain it. But
that is so nice of you to offer that, man.
Yeah. So I think that's all I got. I mean, I don't know.
What's stopping him from just putting the oversized bearings in it? Is it the outer race that maybe, you know, I mean, if you buy the rim that's designed for something else, I wonder how far off the outer races for the bearings that are supposed to fit that axle are compared to that one. I wonder if was kind of the conundrum, is that if you were to swap the bearing, because he has a 20 millimeter axle, he's trying to, I'm sorry, I'm maybe getting this backwards. He has a 20 millimeter axle, but he wants to fit a 25 millimeter bearing.
Yes. So the bearings are bigger.
Yeah.
So you have some slop.
So I guess the bearing is the outer race of the 20 millimeter bearing for the axle is smaller than the 25. You can also get custom bearings made.
I was just going to mention, if you look at the bearings, they'll have a number on it. Like they're probably 60, 25 bearings or whatever, double sealed, and then the diameter, whatever. It'll have a number on it. You can get some with the same OD, and then get something with a smaller ID. They'll just have bigger balls in there, right? To take you'll have some big balls on your bike, but
that's right.
Maybe that's an option. And then that way you can use the same axle. Use the same bushings from the newer wheels.
Right.
And then maybe you're good to go.
And then when you're like ripping whoops, you're not like, I wonder if that rear axle's coming apart right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that's assuming your sprocket lines up, your disc lines up to the caliper. I mean, there's a lot to those wheels. And then like, what's wrong with your current wheels? I mean, can they be repaired? I mean, so there's a lot to consider here. So anyway,
hope that's helpful.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
So you got a hold of that one. I'll go on to the next one. This one is from George with a J, and he is from Wisconsin. Another Wisconsin, right up your neck of the woods, Matt.
Yeah.
Waukesha.
You were close.
I was close, almost nailed it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. He says, do I need to remove the exhaust system pipes if I need to replace the bushings in the shock absorber on the right side of my motorcycle? And I'm going to say no. I don't care what kind of exhaust you have, unless it's like custom and it fabs way too up above, you know, where the passenger would be sitting. I've removed many a times, just to give a shout out to all the motorcycle technicians out there. Many times bikes have aftermarket exhaust systems, and once they do that, we can no longer go by the book as to how to remove the wheel, right? So on the stock exhaust, Honda was smart enough to set the front header or the front exhaust muffler where it ends, right where the axle ends, right? And then the rear, this is a V-twin, it's a VT1100. The rear exhaust, it goes further, so it's kind of sitting, you know.
Right. The bottom pipe, pipe is shorter, right?
And you can pull that axle right out of there. When they do aftermarket, like Cobra, Vance and Hines, all the stuff, they run both of them, boom, right side by side. So guess what we have to do? We have to take, we have to jack, and it's not easy to do if you don't have a lift and proper, like, you know, like jacking procedures, because if you, I'd love to watch someone do it on the ground, but you have to, you know, lock the front wheel in, raise the bike up, drop both of the, you know, undo both of the shock bolts. There's one on the top, one on the bottom. He's talking about the bushings. They're like these like really thick rubber bushings that go on the bottom and the top, and they can you can actually just like take a socket and a hammer and punch them out, Matt. So that's what he's talking about. And you can remove both the shocks, swing arm drops down, then we can get the rear tire out. So because I can do that without having to take the exhaust off, I'm going to say yes. Just be really careful. You can try jacking the bike up. I don't know what kind of setup he has, but just be really careful because you are dropping the swing arm. So you need to have multiple jacks in place to where you can have a jack under the bike and a jack under the swing arm that allows it to flex. So when you loosen it up, it's not just going boom and drop into the ground and then the bike falls over. You know, you have to do it kind of play the piano with your bike per se and raise and lower the jacks as needed. But you can totally do it with the exhaust on.
So you have a video on safely jacking up the rear of your bike by locking the front wheel, right? I remember you did a video.
Front wheel.
Oh, front wheel. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, everyone bashed me because they're like, you could do a rear wheel too. And I know you can. I just don't have a jack for it. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Cool. That one was relatively easy.
All right. I had no idea on that one.
Cool.
All right. Next question. John here in Jupiter, Florida. Bike is an 84 Honda Sabre VF 700S, 39,000 miles. Runs like new. Every time I put gas in, I wonder if these ethanol fuels are killing my bike. Hoses, jets, O-rings, etc. I always use the highest octane they have, usually 93, but mostly just because I'm hoping to give the bike the best fuel that I can. So what fuel should I be putting in this bike? Thanks. You guys are awesome. John.
John, the ethanol is killing your bike.
So all I have is E10 around here for the most part.
What's E10?
10% ethanol.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we got that too.
Because we also have E85.
Supposedly.
So we have we have E85 around here also. So I got to call it E10. That's okay. Well, it's just short for 10% ethanol.
Right.
Now, there is a website called pure-gas.org, and that lists all the gas stations that sell non-ethanol gas.
Yep.
It's from what I found around here, there's not many, not in my area, and then it's more expensive.
Right.
And sometimes it's not 93 octane. Sometimes it's 92 or 91 or whatever.
Right.
But having said that, I only use E10 with ethanol. That's all I ever use because that's what's available.
Right. It's convenient.
Yeah, I don't go out of my way to get special gas because if my stuff runs on it, I will run it. Right.
It doesn't seem worth it to me, but I mean, for like small motor stuff, sure.
Well, even in my lawnmower, weed whacker, all that little carb stuff.
Yeah.
I just use E10.
Absolutely. Me too. Yeah.
And you know what? Over time, my hoses will break and this and that, but I know how to fix things. It's not a huge deal. But I honestly have never done a test between straight gas and ethanol. And I know everyone bashes it and whatnot, but you know what I like to do is keep fuel fresh in all my junk.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like seriously, if the fuel is 2 months old, I will dump it, throw it in my car, get fresh fuel, and just keep it running every 2 months, keep it fresh. Right. And I'm not cleaning carbs every day,
Right.
So
yeah,
that's what I
mean. That's the issue is it's the ethanol reduces the shelf life of the gas. That's all in all. That's ultimately what it's doing. Yes, your bike in '84, John may not have been prepared for what modern society was going to throw at it with the type of gas that we have, but it's going to do just fine. You're not ruining your bike. Yes, there are your fuel lines, the O-rings in between can show an effect of it, but it's nothing that you should worry so much and lose sleep over to try to prevent, because it's going to take a long time if you take care of it. All in all, ultimately, all gas will go bad. All gas goes bad, right? So it's just a matter of you being proactive with, treatments, whether that's a stable or a stabilizer. I like AMSOIL PI. It's a really cool product. They call it a fuel injected cleaner, but man, one time I had a GL 1200 that the guy had like 110,000 miles on it, and he bought it from someone because they had passed away, so it had been sitting. And I pulled the carbs off, pulled the intake down tunnels. They were metal back then. Pulled those off, and man, the intake ports looked like they had been polished. I mean, it was incredible. And the guy was like, yeah, the guy had all this information about what he did to the bike, and one of the things that he did was AMSOIL PI. So I'm a big supporter of that stuff, but keep the gas fresh, run the bike. The biggest thing that you can do to hurt your bike is not operating it. Just letting it sit and let that gas evaporate, and that's what really, really kills it. But I mean, if you swap to non-ethanol gas, I mean, the cons are you're likely going to lose a little bit of fuel mileage, because they're able to burn this ethanol to where it's usable, and it does provide what your motor needs to run. And you're going to go out of your way to get it, and it's going to be a little more expensive, and you're doing all these things when really you could have been running 83 the whole time. Or, premium's great. I like premium. I think premium, dude, I bought Bike Master auxiliary fuel tank like 6 months ago, and it still has premium 93 gas in it, and it looks brand new. I bought in gas from Walmart, that was regular gas, 83 octane, whatever it is, and that stuff turns like yellow in a carb in like 3 or 4 days. For some reason, I think the premium is also lasting a little bit longer, if that matters.
Gotcha. You got 83. Are you talking 87 octane or 83?
Is it 83?
No, I think it's 87, right? No,
it's definitely 87.
I saw 85 in Colorado, like on road trips and stuff, but
yeah, because 87,
89,
89, and 93,
91, maybe 92, depending. Okay. We're at 93.
Man, I look at it every day, and I couldn't even tell you.
All right, okay.
I think it's 87. I think you're totally right.
It's 87 because that's the stuff I buy for all my cars, because it runs, man. I don't care,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, that's time. That's enough time for today's episode. We went through 3 or 4 questions. Cody, what are the rules and the email again?
Yeah, so email askbrokenmoto@gmail.com. That's how you reach us. That's how you send us videos, pictures. Videos are awesome. If you can do a quality video with some good audio and some fantastic lighting, it would be phenomenal for us to look at. But questions are the same thing. If you're going to have a question, make sure that it pertains to exactly what make and model the bike is. What did you do last to the bike? Why is it? Did you just buy it? Did you just put a new part on? Including mileage. That's the kind of stuff really, really does help us out. And you guys have been phenomenal with it so far. We haven't really had too many questions where we're left wondering. But those are the rules. That's the best way that we can help you guys out.
And don't forget about our beer fund.
Yeah.
It's brand new.
Buy us a beer.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd appreciate it.
Support local from around the world.
Cool,
right, guys.
Thanks for joining. See you next time.
Later.